Hello everyone and welcome. This is General History and this is episode 2 of our Ultimate General Civil War playthrough. We just finished the first battle of Acquia Creek and we are now moving on to the second battle of Newport News. Now Newport News is actually going to be the Battle of Big Bethel, which I talked about in the last episode, the Battle of Philippi. Being a minor skirmish. This was also, in the grand scheme of the war, Big Bethel would come down to being a minor skirmish as well. Although it did it was a much more significant battle than the one taking place at Philippi, which was McClellan's first victory of the war. Some of the background behind the Battle of Newport News, or Big Bethel in this case. The Union had taken up positions and was reinforcing a fort at the tip of the Virginia Peninsula known as Fort Monroe. This fort was under the command of Benjamin Butler. Butler would then send out troops on the night of June 9th. The battle was actually later than what actually took place. Like, this says it's June 15th. That's not correct. The battle took place on June the 10th. But I do know this is Big Bethel. You could tell just by the map here. This is clearly supposed to be the Battle of Big Bethel. Now, what had happened was Confederates Fort Monroe put the Union in position to control most of the Virginia Peninsula, including Newport News and Hampton. There was a small Confederate unit under the commands of Colonel Daniel Hill and Colonel John B. Magruder, who had taken up positions just north of Marsh Creek near the church of Big Bethel. They had set up really good fortifications just north of the river here, or the creek, and dug in, which threatened just far enough from Fort Monroe to threaten. So Butler, like I said, on the night of June 9th, sent out troops under the command of Ebenezer Pierce. These were the 5th Volunteer and the 3rd Volunteer units of New York. On making their way to the battlefield, though, this was taking place at night and the units were green. There was also miscommunication between the units, where a code word was given out but not deployed to all their units. When the code word was yelled out, when 2 units came in contact with each other, they ended up getting into a small skirmish. One of the first, if not the first, friendly fire incidents of the war. This alerted the Confederates, who were actually counter-marching under Magruder. They were actually launching an attack of their own. They ended up falling back to their breastworks at Big Bethel, and that's where the battle would then take place. So a little bit of backstory here. So let's go ahead and launch. We've built up my army last episode. I'm not going to be bringing my artillery into the battle, but as you can see, if I was to take this out, I am also given 3,000 troops as well. So I have my first corps. I have my units, if I was to put this in here. Sorry. But we also are given a significantly sized force as well, including, as you can see, you have some pretty famous, or who would soon be famous, generals: Stuart, Evans, Bartow. These were not people who actually took place at the Battle of Big Bethel. Like I said, forces were under control of Daniel Hill and Magruder at the time of the battle. So let's go ahead and start. Sir, it was very brave of you to refuse Lincoln's call to arms and join the Confederate cause. The Union is trying desperately to convince the locals not to succeed and is attempting an investment of Virginia with military force. Numerous Union infantry is approaching a town from 3 directions: northwest, north, let me guess, northeast. Yes, northeast. It is vowed to protect the town and show the Yankees that we are not going to leave our lands undefended. Incoming Union forces are strong. We cannot stop them, only delay them, so it is advised to deploy skirmishers and advance north of the town to buy some time for our reinforcements. Okay. All cavalry scouts have returned from their reconnaissance mission and will assist you in the efforts. Virginia, oh wow, this is long. The Virginia local militia has been called up. We will receive infantry and artillery to counterattack. Until then, hold your ground, General. Okay, here we go. Alright, so, like I said, I'm going to keep my artillery in reserve. We're going to get some of our own artillery coming in here soon. So we do actually have Stuart's cavalry to the north, which, like I said, didn't actually take place. Like I said, there should be breastworks all along the northern edge of the river here, but we have to hold the town. So let's go ahead. I'm not going to deploy. I mean, there's really no point. Alright, let's go ahead and pause and see what we can do. Oh, there is breastworks. Well, okay, not really. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and deploy some skirmishers, get them in this. Okay, so we have defensive positions in the town itself, but not north of the river like there really should be. We'll go ahead and deploy Siegfried there, and then Kemper. Lane, I'm going to retreat to the town just in case they get flanked. In fact, I'll put them there. They said they'd be coming from 3 different directions. And then I have Stuart up here. I'll have him go to this forest here, and we'll see what we can do from there. Enemy troops are approaching. They are coming from the north here. Okay, so these are skirmisher cavalry, so I can dismount them. There's 2 types of cavalry in the game. There is the skirmisher cavalry. They're typically equipped with carbines, and then you also have more your, I guess more of like a heavy cavalry that are equipped with pistols and sabers, more for charging down the enemy and whatnot. So we have some skirmishers flanking to the west here. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to lane in that breastwork. Go ahead and put Kemper and these ones back here. Move Siegfried forward some. Doesn't look like anybody's coming this way, so oh, there is skirmishers. Get back off the horses. It's like those skirmishers are just charging in. They're giving better than they're taking. So we have to hold the town for 30 minutes. I'm assuming that's when I get my reinforcements in. So we charge my skirmishers in the farm there. Yeah. Fire volley and then get out of this. Get out of there. center. You man those positions. Lane, you guard the left flank. Stuart, mount up and get out of there. Strange Siegfried, actually. Ah, got to pull out my skirmishers. Alright, so you guys rejoin. So get to the town and then dismount. Have to hold for 12 minutes. Like I said, I'm assuming 12 minutes until reinforcements arrive. What are you doing, Stuart? So in the true historical battle, the Confederates weren't forced to retreat, but I sort of got cold feet there. I didn't want to. I was starting to get overwhelmed. Even though I had good positions, I feel like my positions here in the town are probably a little bit better. Thinking maybe if I'd put a full unit in the farmhouse, they probably would have held off a little bit better than just those skirmishers. But I mean, the skirmishers got 127 kills to 117 deaths. So I mean, they gave it better than they got it, just slightly. But all right, so mission time is now at 0. I'm assuming that means I'm getting my reinforcements. Yes. Okay, you did your best, General, to hold the Yankees. Our reinforcements arrived to teach them a lesson. Cavalry and supplies are on their way as well. Alright, so under command of Johnson, I'm assuming this is Joseph E. Johnson. I'm gonna go ahead and get some of these guys to the river. See, they seem to be massing there. Evans, I think we'll go ahead and put in town as well. Don't go charging in by yourself. Alright, you guys get up there at the double quick. Evans, not so much. I'm not too worried about you getting up there too quickly. So go ahead and hold, wait for the artillery to arrive. So you guys go ahead and run too. So let's go ahead and move these guys forward as well. Helen's pretty much in position. You will guard the left flank. So the big problem with the Union decisions during the battle was they sent all their forces in sort of piecemeal. One regiment at a time. The Union would actually make this mistake a lot in the first first few battles of the war. Oftentimes they would send them in one regiment at a time. Now, forces in the field were actually commanded by Theodore Winthrop. For the Ebenezer Pierce was actually, if I remember correctly, he was sick at the time, although he was commanding, was the overall commander. The commander in the field was Theodore Winthrop, who was sending, like I said, was sending his forces in piecemeal against the heavy Confederate breastworks, and even though they outnumbered the Confederates by a good amount, they just couldn't break through the Confederate positions. At one point, he tried rallying his troops, and I think he said something along the lines of one more charge and we'll have them, and it was almost immediately after that he was actually shot through the heart. So unfortunately that was short-lived. Daniel Hill actually very much respected the bravery of Winthrop at the time, because like I said, I believe he had jumped up on a fence post or something like that and was trying to rally his men when he was shot. And they had actually buried not only him, but all the Union soldiers who ended up dying at the battle. The Union would actually collect Winthrop's body. They would come under the flag of truce, and the body would be exhumed and returned back. I believe he was from Boston. Could be around there. I guess if it was in New York, I think maybe not. But then again, not always. The commanders didn't actually always come from where they were from. Where the regiment was at the whole. I'm sort of trying to. Oh wow! I just realized they have a lot of troops. So I think I'm going to try using Ewell and Bartow to swing around the flanks here, and B as well. Okay, so I got my cavalry and my supply unit. So let's go ahead and get these supplies up to town. Let's go ahead and move one artillery piece forward at a time. Siegfried is taking the brunt of the charges here, but he seems to be holding pretty well, especially with Evans in his rear, and as well as Lane in his rear as well. Lane is the one that I equipped with the rifles, although they're not really, I mean, they're giving better than they're getting, but I would have expected them to do a little bit better than what they're doing. Not too worried about losing this cavalry units, or really any of the cavalry. Let me go ahead, now that I have my reinforcements, I'll go ahead and get Stuart mounted up again, and we'll skirmish their flanks on this side with my 2 cavalry units. All in all, total 76 Union casualties was the Butcher's Bill for the historical battle. This battle obviously is a little more blown out than what historically happened, as seems to be the case with these minor battles. Like, the grand battles tend to be more historically accurate. Like I said, I played through the first Battle of Bull Run, and it was pretty historically accurate. But these minor battles seem to tend to lean more towards less historically accurate. Like, they definitely seem to be a lot more grander than what actually happened during the battle. Like I said, Union didn't come anywhere close to getting in contact with the town. Go ahead and move Collins forward as well. Now that Imboden's in position. We only need to hold off for another 30 minutes. Oh no, Stuart. And Stuart's been wounded. Jeb Stewart's been wounded. At least he wasn't killed. So we are starting to clear the left of town. Might go ahead. Let's go ahead and get Lane out of position. Oh wait. What is going on? I just saw on the minimap there's actually a unit in my rear. don't know what it is. Let's go ahead and get these guys on the run. Could be cavalry. That's why I want to protect my artillery. Now let's go just protect. Oh yeah, it is cavalry. Come on, volley. What are you doing? There you go. Let's go ahead and cavalry against cavalry. Move them in. Gotta hold out for another 21 minutes. Actually, gonna just go ahead and move Cullen into town. But yeah, so 76 historical casualties is what the Union took. A lot of that was, like I said, from that friendly fire incident, and the Confederates historically only took 8 casualties. This sort of pushed the narrative that Confederate soldiers were worth 10 Union. That was something that was a claim at the early beginning stages of the war, and like I said, Big Bethel sort of made that a reality for a time. Like I said, it pushed this narrative. And the battle itself, because like I said, it was much more significant than Philippi in terms of units involved. But the battle itself was seen in a very Napoleonic stance. At least that's what Southern newspapers sort of hailed it as sort of this Napoleonic victory against a much larger force, which I mean it was, but it didn't really have the grand sort of victory that would soon come in anything like what we'd see later in the war. Let's go ahead and put that back in there. So it's actually melee cavalry that they're actually skirmishing with, but there's only 6 minutes left. I'm not too worried at this point. Let's go ahead and get Johnson up forward. I know, Borto was killed. A little too early. I wonder if that because he's not a core unit, I wonder if that's going to carry over. And there we go, there it is. Victory at Newport News, or Big Bethel. The Union brought in 9,000 troops. That's a little extreme for what actually was there. Even the 6,000 Confederate troops is a little extreme. Infantry, they lost almost half their force, another 74 cavalry. We lost almost 1,400. And a few of the infantry units on the guns, and a lot of cavalry. We did lose a significant amount. But they weren't my cavalry, so I actually should be able to collect some of the goods. Units, Kemper actually saw the best. Siegfried was the best. So Kemper had like a, what is that, a 3-to-1? 4-to-1? 3-to-1 kill-death ratio. So they really gave out pretty well. Officers. Bartow was killed, Jeb Stewart was wounded, and Daniel Siegfried got a promotion to Lieutenant Colonel. We collected some Koch brothers. Those are skirmisher weapons, I believe, for cavalry. Collected a lot of smoothbores. Sharps 1855s. Again, another cavalry carbine. Colts 15. We collected some of our Mississippis and the 1855 Colt. So a lot of skirmisher weapons we collected from this battle. Alright, so we got 1 career point, 4 reputation, another 4,000 infantry, and $5,800 to, or, yeah, 5,800. No, 58,000, god dang. Okay, let's take a look. We'll go ahead and push our career first. I think I'm going to go ahead. That way I can just put all my units in one division. think I'm going to go ahead and give army organization. That way I can have 4 brigades per division. Kind of wanted to put it in politics, but like I said, I kind of want to just go ahead and make sure all my units are in 1 brigade at the moment, or 1 division, that is. Alright, let's go ahead and reinforce these guys. So we'll go ahead and give them 150 veterans. Sort of split it half and half, that way they don't take too much of a loss in terms of their experience. So we'll give them 250 rookies, fill in the rest with veterans. In lane, do we even have, okay, yeah, we have enough. This is going to be a little bit more expensive, because I want to try and fill these guys out, but they do have the more expensive Mississippi rifles, but they also got a promotion, so we actually have to keep that in mind as we upgrade them. So let's go ahead and get them as fully upgraded as we can without losing that star, the veterancy star, that is, and then we'll replace the rest with veterans. So $9,000, that's not as bad as I thought it would be. Alright, so we also have Cabell here. We have 2 guns in the armory, 19 in the shop. Let's see how many, so I can get 1 pretty much free gun. I think I want to try and make this a 12 gun battery. You know what, let's go 14. Yeah, let's go 14.
Yes, sir.
And we have $6,000. I don't have any supplies, so I'm going to need to probably go ahead and spend all that on supply. And there we go. So I have 1 division under command of, who's this, Tom Preston. In fact, let me go to the armory. Oh yeah, I forgot that too. So I don't have any skirmishers. I don't plan on making any light infantry skirmishers, so I can go ahead and sell all these. I will keep the Colts, the 15 Colts that I have. Alright, and then let's go ahead. I talked about in the last episode how apparently if you buy all these weapons, they'll restock. So let's go ahead and do that. Do the Fayettevilles as well. Try and get as many of these as we can. Because if you buy them all out, like I said, I sort of tried to explain in the last episode, but if you buy all of these out after each campaign, by the end of the campaign you should have enough to, or by the end, towards the end of the game, or the war, you should have enough to equip a whole division with Henrys and Fayettevilles if you're trying to buy everything. Because I think they started with, okay, well, the Henry started with 48. If I wasn't to buy all 48 this match, or this campaign, the next campaign, they'd only get restocked with another like 20 or 30, whereas now that I bought it all out, it's going to be restocked up to like 100, or something along those lines. At least that's how I understand it. So that's why we're buying these weapons now, even though we clearly don't have enough in stock to equip any infantry with. Hopefully, eventually we will, though. So, I should have actually, if I have anybody, should have probably got an officer for him. What do I have in my armory? I don't want to. How much it would be a better officer? Because he's taking this gun is taking an efficiency hit. Because the officer's rank is too low, because he's still a captain. So, I think a lieutenant colonel would be enough. What's the cheapest lieutenant colonel? So I need $1,700. So we'll go ahead and sell 361 of the Springfields, so I can get a better, go ahead and get the cheapest guy. Lieutenant Colonel. Okay, yeah, so efficiency no longer takes a hit. So, here we go. So we have 4 units for the Battle of First Bull Run. The Confederate Army of PGT Beauregard has deployed south of Bull Run River to guard Manassas Railroad Junction. From the other side of the river, Brigadier General Irving McDowell is looking for a weak point to attack. Your forces are needed to guard the left flank of the Confederate Army and stop the enemy from advancing to Richmond. So we will play that battle next episode. And as you can see, we actually, because we successfully defended the town of Newport News, Union reinforcements have withdrawn. Negative 5% army size. So we talked about army size. So this is the pool that the computer can bring to the battle. That we could see upwards of 34,000 troops at the battle. I believe they had 36,000 at the battle. It was the largest unit, or the largest army ever assembled in North America at the time. I believe it was 36,000. But yeah, we'll go ahead and pick this up next episode though, and we'll talk about the historical background of the battle and whatnot. Oh, and I told you last episode I was going to do book recommendations. I didn't have one for this episode. I've read a few, or one book on the Battle of Big Bethel, but it really wasn't anything. It was an okay book. Didn't really knock my socks off because it's such a small battle. Most of what you can just learn from Wikipedia. I mean, to read a 300-page book on the Battle of Big Bethel is a bit of overkill. But it was interesting in its own regard. But like I said, I really don't have a recommendation this week. I mean, if I did, I would recommend probably maybe one of the overarching novels of the war, something like the Shelby Foote books, something along those lines. But yeah, so no book recommendation this week, just because, like I said, there really isn't really anything on Big Bethel that's really worth your time that you can't just get from like Wikipedia or just like online videos and stuff like that. So, but thank you all for watching. Like I said, we'll pick it up in the next episode. But for now, this is General History signing off. Thanks.